but a share, I think, was, did you get a lemon? Unfortunately, I can't answer that question. And the reason is because one of the great debates on the Esrogim today is how much esrog is it and how much lemon is it. So we'll give a little background, because when you're picking an esrog, it seems that there are three schools of thoughts. And I learned in Brisk, and I end up with these esrogim that nobody would want to buy. And we'll see why soon. The esrog tree in itself is a very weak tree. And if you want to know why you're paying so much for an esrog, that's because the tree itself is so weak that you have to really keep it up well. You can have a pardes, you can have a orchard of esrogim, which one year has beautiful esrogim, and the next year they lose millions of dollars, nothing. They can't make the money back, because the tree itself is not strong. It sort of, dies out, and you have to replant it, replenish it. Now, what's very similar to an esrog is a lemon, and a lemon tree is a strong tree. So, if I go to Morocco, let's say, with the Arabs, there's no hechsher, nobody's looking over the orchard, and I want to pick a esrog off the tree. The Arabs, they weren't born yesterday, and they know that if you want to make sure you make money on the esrogim, you got to graft it with a lemon tree. So in order to keep the trees growing well, there's different ways to graft it, different ways to combine the esrog and the lemon, and then you get the issue of a morkav, called a mixed breed of an esrog. Now, what's the din if you have a mixed breed esrog? There's a whole slew of achronim on it. That's beyond the topic of today, whether it's kosher or puzzle, or maybe it depends on the size, and other things. But basically, stay away. And rather to get an esrog that's a complete esrog, that's why you look for one with the hechsher. But bottom line being, this esrog may be grown on a beautiful esrog tree, but the seed was planted from a previous esrog. And the grandfather and great-grandfather and the Alta Zeta of this esrog might have been a mix between a lemon and esrog. How are you going to ever know if your esrog is an esrog or if it's mixed from a lemon? And I think once they decided to take proper testing, they biologically test it to see, a real esrog and one that's mixed, to see if they can tell the difference. The bottom line is that the trees are self-pollinated also, and the pollination of the trees mix. So the truth is that even if you have the most kosher esrog in the world, there got to be some lemon in it. You're not going to have an esrog that's pure. That makes it more complicated to try to figure out if you really got an esrog or if you got a lemon. So that's the question. You want to know, did you get an esrog or did you get a lemon? The answer is, who knows? But we do the best that we can, and we try our best, and we take something which has a reputable hechsher, and we know at least that the Beis Ephraim holds that as long as this tree is good, we don't care if what you planted from was more good, So we try that. But if you learn a Brisk, I was introduced to this the hard way. I learned by the son of the Brisk of David, son of Vaichik, and I come there, and the first day I got to get asked, what do I know? I was a young kid, So I asked, somebody older, big shots there, how do I get an esrog? What do you do? He says, I'll tell you, you got to get an esrog that's, way back then it has to be, pure 100% esrog. So, okay, where do I go? He says, there's a guy selling esrogim Kfar Saba. Those esrogim that they have there, now I don't even know if any esrogim come from there, but those esrogim, that's for sure an esrog. Okay, so I'm coming, I go there, guy opens up a box, and he pulls out something that looks like a line. Now, the simonim of an esrog, we'll see soon exactly what an esrog is. There are 4 simonim of an esrog, incidentally, which most of us know. The thickness of the skin is much thicker. It's much thicker. The pulp inside is very little. When you make your esrog jam, you see the white part that goes around is much thicker. By a lemon, it's thin. The seeds are supposed to be going up by an esrog, while by a lemon they go flat. And the bottom is shakua. It goes in where the ukitz, where it's attached to the tree. what do they call them? Stem, yeah. Where it goes in. So that's by an esrog, by a lemon it's rounded. And then it has bumps. This one doesn't have so many bumps, but it has bumps, blitos. That's a esrog and not a lemon. But, again, you could have the kivalevich esrogim, which are the ones that Bishul Diskin used, has very little simonim of esrog. The seeds are going the wrong way. It's not so thick, the skin. So the place can say it's not really proof, it's just a simon, but it's not, at the end of the day, a proof. But this guy pulled out the thing that mamash looked round and green. Totally round and green. And this is a beautiful esrog, okay? Beautiful esrog. I bought it. I bought this esrog. And then, everybody's looking at me, look, what's that you got in your hand? I remember my brother-in-law is also he's a son-in-law by Yitzchak Soloveitchik. So he sent my father-in-law an esrog. He brought it. This esrog is the best esrog in the world. It comes in the mail. It came in. He opens it up. It's full of spots and dots and he takes it to the Rav. Rav says, "Puzzle, no shiloh." And meanwhile, this is the most mudded esrog. So we have three kinds of esrogim people are going to look for. One is it an esrog or is it a lemon? That's by the briskers. That's the number one criteria. Once you have a bona fide esrog, then you could start debating. How nice it looks. That's the criteria number one for the briskers. Now, for the rest of the world, there's two views how you look at an esrog. One, I'll tell you the rest of the story with this Krasaba esrog at the end. It's funny, but we'll get to it soon. The other way of looking for an esrog is how it looks, the giddle. The more Hamish oilam, look for the giddle. The giddle of an esrog, basically, it says a pretty decent giddle. It's aligned, the ukets, with the point. It's aligned, and it comes up in a nice cone. Symmetrically. It's very symmetric. It's not so symmetric. It's a little higher there, a little there. It's not 100% symmetrically, but this is lined up nicely. So that's called a giddle of an esrog. You have some esrogim that are more round, like balls. That doesn't have such a nice giddle. You have, if it's totally round, it's puzzle, but usually it's not totally. You won't find one that's totally round. But that's the giddle. And that's the first thing they look at. They take the esrog, and that's the main criteria. The Litvish Oilam looks for more the clean esrogim. They look at it, there's a thing, exactly how many dots it has on it. We'll see what to look for soon. We'll go through it and see how clean the esrog is. The perfect esrog is an esrog that's, of course, we know it's an esrog. 2, it looks like it has a nice giddle. And 3, it's perfectly clean. That's a perfect esrog. And it's, fresh. It's dried up, it's not such a schmuck. That's what you're looking for in an esrog. Again, if you're more, you come more from the Hamish side of town, you care more about the giddle. If you come more for the Litvish, okay, it doesn't matter how it's shaped so much. The point is it should be nice and clean. So those are the two things you're looking for in an esrog.
Now, how are you supposed to know that it's not a lemon without cutting it open and looking at the seeds?
That's actually, like I said before, that even if it has the seeds going the wrong way, it could be an esrog. And even if it has the seeds going the right way, it could be a lemon. Because today with the morkav, it's very hard to tell. It doesn't mean. It's just a simon, but it's not a proof.
Right.
If it has extra on it, it came from an orchard that was washed over. So that's what we're saying on today. But again, that's why it says this Chazanish. What's a Chazanish esrog? A Chazanish esrog. Chazanish wrote Sforim. He didn't take esrogim. But Chazanish esrog means that the Chazanish used an esrog, and the Chazanish Beruach Kodshai said that he knows this is an esrog, not a lemon. So he actually took his seeds from his esrog and told him, Michal Yuvalevkowitz was nifta recently to plant a tree. He planted a tree in his backyard. Now, like we said before, trees don't grow so easily. And the esrog trees, they die out. They don't. His tree, he was no farmer. He barely watered it. The thing grew beautifully and had a esrogim every year. And this year, he was nifted this year. The tree died this year. But from his tree, they cut off branches. They made whole, esrog orchards from one tree. So those are Chazanish Lefkowitz esrogim. Then there's other Chazanish esrogim that we used that he gave to people and they planted. That's where the Chazanish esrogim come from, and people use it because if Chazanish used it, it must have been an esrog. There's like I said, the Kivalevich, which would be Shulei Diskin used. That got to be an esrog. this is using Ruach HaKodesh, but we don't have any witnesses exactly what's an esrog. Now, we'll get back to that. So now what are we looking for when we pull out your esrog? What spots? What are the different things? So the so-called, there's basically three things that, there's more, but the basic three things in halacha we're talking about: shinui mara, a discoloration, different kinds of discolorations. There's a chazozis, a growth on it, and then there's a niklaf, something that's chosne, it's missing in the esrog, which happens quite often. Now, to get to know an esrog, the esrog is split into two parts. There's the bottom of the esrog. It's going to be hard to tell on this one, but there's the bottom part, and there's what we call the chaitim. The chaitim is the nose that's coming up, from where it like slants off from about here, I guess. It starts slanting forward. About here, it starts slanting forward. That's called the chaitim of the esrog. That's where the beauty of the esrog is. It says, the Torah says, pre-eitz hadar. You want to have a pre-eitz that's beautiful. Hadar. Now, in all mitzvahs, we try to beautify the mitzvahs. But in esrog, it says it in the pasuk, it should be a beautiful esrog. So if you have an esrog that's missing its beauty, it's possible. If you have an esrog that's a little bit beauty, it's kosher. But if the esrog that's really beautiful, that's good. I was learning with someone last night, and he asks me, God cares if the esrog has a little black dot on it or this and that. I mean, come on, it's a nice esrog, it's green, the esrog is yellow, whatever. So I told him, I don't know. Of course he cares. He's an artist. Let's say you have a picture, a beautiful picture here in the room. No, you have a nice painting, let's say, and you think it's just strokes, and it's every single detail in that picture is done with chachma, is done with wisdom, and done properly. That's a painting. Every little stroke. Hashem made the world with great beauty and great wisdom. He demands perfection. He's going to put people on the world here to do a mediocre job. Hashem wants perfection. Yeah, so a person doesn't get to the perfection. We have Yom Kippur to give us a clean slate, start again. Now, Hashem wants to say, it's impossible a person gets there fully, so he helps us out. But we're not on this world to just float through. He wants perfection. That's one thing. So the mitzvahs are like that also. Do it with perfection. The other thing is, the Chazon Ish says, that we got to work on our midas a little bit. Imagine it happened to me one year. I got this beautiful esrog. I'm telling you, it was a beautiful esrog. I left it on the brake front, and my nephew comes along. There's a little kid, and he stuck his nail into it right over there. He got out a little piece of my esrog. So nobody could see it. I saw it. Nobody sees it. So I have this beautiful esrog, so I could come to shul. It's very easy. Put your hand over here, you cover it in, and you hold your glove, and you shake it. Nobody knows better except for me. But, or I could take my son's esrog, which is kosher. It wasn't so nice, but it was kosher. And I could come to shul, it's the kosher esrog. So I got to work on my midas a little bit. I'll take my son's esrog and leave this one at home. You'll spend money. People used to spend, especially when now it's easy to get esrog, and we call this expensive, $70, $80. They used to spend a huge amount of money to try to get an esrog. Imagine they found the esrog, a beautiful esrog. He's the hero of the town. He got this beautiful esrog. There's nothing like it. And it's all, it's puzzle. Nobody knows but him. It's puzzle. Pittim falls off, But I have to esrog him today. Come without pittims. We'll discuss that soon. Pittim falls off. So it's kosher. If pittim falls off, it's kosher anyway. I don't want to see about that. But no, this esrog comes without a pittim. He knows himself, he has to work on his midas. Hashem wants perfection from us, and He expects us to be able to judge properly what's good and what's not good. But anyways, so a shinui mara is a discoloration on the esrog. Now, if it's on the top part, which is called a chaitim, any of the psulim on the top part, b'mashahu, if there's a little bit of it, it's possible. If you're on the slope, any little bit is possible. If it's on the bottom, then you need berubai, and we'll see what that means in a minute. But if it's in the top part, the discoloration is possible. Now you're going to tell me, listen, Rabbi, you go through the esrogim, I tell you, I went through at least 100 esrogim already, probably more. You go through them, they all have spots on it. They all got spots on it. You're not going to find an esrog without a spot. As a matter of fact, this esrog has one right here. Looks very familiar, this esrog, I don't know why. But it has one right here, a nice little black dot right here, you probably can't see it. But I can see it here, right here. Now, if you hold it like this, and it's not noticeable, it's kosher. You don't have to look at it like this to see if it's black out there. So it's kosher. But let's say, you notice this a little bit small. One's a little bigger, and you can notice it. So that's it. So this is, actually, it's right here. It's below the chaitim. See, the chaitim is here. So it's kosher anyways. But let's say it'd be a little higher. So the question is, that's it? Over? My esrog is over? So the answer is, a shinui mara is puzzled because it doesn't belong on the esrog. It doesn't belong there. It's a discoloration. But Moshe holds that today the little black dots are very common on the esrog, and it's not a discoloration of the esrog itself. It's something which normally grows that way. A and B. A lot of them, you have to really know your esrogim. A lot of them are not really from something wrong with the esrog that it became discolored, but to some outside factor that makes it black. So that wouldn't be possible. So it's not really, unless it's a nice big black splotch, it's not really going to be a problem. But again, those that are very medactic b'mitzvahs are going to be very careful, and if they see a black dot on top, they're not going to take that esrog. At least you won't pay $150 for it. So, but otherwise, but that's a black dot. If it's brown, it's not a problem. If it's black, it's a problem. If it's white, it's a shinui mara. If it's brown, that's normal. The esrog has brown spots. Unless there's a lot of brown around and something else. But the esrog has brown spots, that's not possible. If it's black or white, it's possible. That's shinui mara. So again, if it's tiny, okay, not the end of the world. If it's large, I would suggest you get a different esrog if it's on the top. If it's on the bottom, you have to have in roiv of the esrog. Now that doesn't mean that your black line has to go roiv of the esrog. That means if you have 3 spots that cover roiv of the bottom, like Chazon Ish holds it's like a triangle. You have 1 spot here, 1 spot here, and 1 spot here. That if you connect all the dots, the area within those dots are most of the esrog, it's going to be possible. If not, it's kosher. If you have a lot of dots all in one part, who cares? It has to cover roiv. If it's spread out, then it's a puzzle. According to Mishnah Berurah, even if it's in a straight line, if it covers roiv of the hekef, it's puzzle.
But which way do you measure? The smallest?
You
can measure both sides.
Wherever it is. If it goes roiv around, wherever the dots are, if it goes roiv around, according to the Mishnah Berurah, it's puzzle.
No, but if it forms a triangle, you could do the triangle the opposite way. It would be rove. Like, can't you?
A triangle, you can usually only do it one way. If it's a triangle,
Then go around the other side.
you could go. I think you go with the closest way. You go with the closest way, and it has to cover right.
The smallest triangle.
Yeah, smallest triangle. Yeah. So that's how it would look. And again, those are usually with the bigger sized dots. If it's a small, tiny dot, I show that's how the esrog can grow. So that's a shinui mara, a discoloration on the esrog. What's very common on the esrog is called a blettel. Now, there's a lot of different kinds of blettels. This isn't having, it's not a good esrog to show, but there's a lot of times you have brown things that come on the esrog. Now, they could come either because when it was growing, it grows with thorns. Sometimes they put things on the esrog when it starts growing. The thorns shouldn't get in it. But leaves, or sharp leaves, they can get into it, and they scratch it, and it grows on top of it like a scab. So if it was scratched and it grew on top of a scab, as long as a scab covered over the entire part that was scratched away, it's okay. It's kosher. There's other kinds of bletlach which are just brown things that grow over it. Sometimes they come from the juice of the esrog, and they grow over it. Sometimes they actually come from a worm that crawls on the esrog. It makes different things on top of it. The poskim discuss what we call as a chazazis. Chazazis is a growth on there, like a wart or something that grows on the esrog, and it's not clear exactly what that is. That can make it puzzle. Again, all the psulim, if it's on top, one of them will make it puzzle. On the bottom, you're going to have 3 to spread out to cover roiv. So let's say you have a growth on it. If it's on top, it'll be puzzle. If it's on the bottom, then you have 3. But so some of these bletlach, some of the poskim want to know, is that called a chazazis? It's a growth on it. You have something, you feel it. It's higher up from the skin. Is that called a growth? Mikra didn't behold its kosher. So the bletbach is something you take esrog and say, oh, that's a blettel. What they mean to say is, don't worry about it, because it's It's not part of your esrog. It's some brown stuff on top. The only thing you have to worry about is if it was actually peeled away from the esrog and something grew inside. You have to make sure it's fully covered, because if it's not fully covered, it could be the esrog is missing something. What actually happened to my esrog that I got from Kfar Saba after I got the special esrog from Brisk, and this little thing that looked like a lime, it's actually, I'm looking at a closer look and I see the skin is peeled away a little bit. It was peeled and you could see the white underneath. Now if the skin is peeled and just the top thin little yellow glaze is taken away, that's kosher. But if it gets into the white, then you have a problem of chasr. On the first day, the esrog that is chasr is possible. On the second day, it's kosher. It's not the best esrog, but it's kosher. Second day. On the first day, it's possible if it's chasr. If it's only chasr or mashu, again, it could depend where it is. But if it's missing, if esrog is chasr, you have a problem the first day. Now, so I wasn't sure, what do I do? So I went to, there was I'm not going to say his name, it was a big mumcha, one of these big old Yerushalmis, a real specialist on esrog. He knew esrog. So someone said, go to him, he'll tell you if it's kosher. Okay, so I take my esrog, I'm new there. There's a line, I can't tell you, down the block. People are waiting. So I wait online a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour. Finally I get in, he looks at me esrog, he says, I can't see, it's too late at night, you have to come back in the morning. I said, I'm not coming in the morning, I waited a half hour, an hour. He says, no, just come in front of the line, I'll take you. Anyways, I really felt bad. This is my esrog. It looks like a lime. When I'm walking with Shalim, it looks in Me'ashar, and they're selling them tons of esrog. It's like people, it's like Eretz Sukkot. And I see this beautiful esrog. It looks like one of these things that, you hang in your sukkah decorations, like these plastic esrogim. Mamash like that, beautiful. So how much you want for it? I said, 20 shekel. I said, fine. So I take it. So I go to him back. And next morning I come to him, I bring him my esrog. He looks in the light, says kosher. So I said, what about this esrog? He says, is that from Kfar Chabad? I said, yeah. I couldn't believe it. On the spot, I knew where it was from. So this is the old Yerushalmi, I really should turn off the tape here. He says, okay, I don't know if it's an esrog, but if it's an esrog, it's kosher. Because the esrog got before is from Kfar Saba, it's not murkiv, no question, This esrog, where did it come from? He doesn't, he wasn't into that. But it was a beautiful esrog, so, that was that. But, so this, if it's niklaf, if it's peeled away, that could be a problem. And even a mash a little bit on the first day could be a problem, and you have to look carefully to make sure it's not, it doesn't get peeled. As far as it comes to the pitim, which is interesting, the pitim, just because the pitim falls off doesn't mean it's possible. As long as there's a little bit coming out from the top of the esrog, it's kosher. Now the Mishnah says if you have another esrog, you should take the other esrog. But if you don't have another esrog, it's kosher. You can make a bracha on it, there's no problem. Especially if it's just a ball that fell off on top, it's kosher. The shoshanta, the ball is called a shoshanta, it's kosher. If from the stem falls off, it's also kosher. If it falls off so much that it's equal to the esrog itself, that's no good. On the first day. The second day is a shiloh. On the first day, it's no good. But if it's just cut off and part of the pitim is on, it's kosher. If it so happens your son's esrog, let him use it. The Mishnah says if you have another one, for other shittas, some shittas, if you have another esrog, you should take the other esrog. Now there is a Kaf HaChaim that holds a chiddush. See, these esrogim, out of the Eretz Yisrael esrogim, the stem is made out of the meat of the esrog. It's like flesh. You can see it goes up green here. It's like fleshy inside. If you break it, you'll see it looks a little fleshy inside. There are other ones that are actually a stem that comes up. So the Kaf HaChaim holds that if it's a fleshy one, it actually has a din of the esrog, a chiddush, and if it would break, it would be considered possible. But that's a chumrah. Look at din, if it breaks, the pitim breaks, it's still kosher. It's also again another question. If you have a black spot, a nice big black spot, which is very common, to have a nice big black spot right on your pitim, right on the esrog over here on the top part, is that possible? And again, we said on the slope, it's possible. So, unless you say it's a natural black spot. It's possible. What if it's on the pitim itself, which is very common? So a lot of places come on machshir, they say a pitim is not an esrog, it's a pitim. So that doesn't matter if it's a black spot on it. But according to this Kaf HaChaim, if it's a fleshy one, then it could have a din of the slope. The Rambam holds like that also, it has a din of the slope. But make a din, it's kosher. But the Kaf HaChaim, he holds that since the flesh has a din of the slope, it'll be kosher. There is an interesting svara, interesting logic, that some say why a black spot is kosher on the pitim, because how could it be possible? If I want, I could break off the pitim. We just said if you break off the pitim, as long as it's a little bit sticking up, it's a kosher esrog. So how could I say if I have a black spot on the pitim, it's going to be puzzle? I have a very simple answer. Yeah, close your eyes, break it off, no more black spot. It's kosher. So since the pitim itself you could break off, it'll be kosher, it can't be that a black spot will pass. But again, it could make your price go a little lower down on your esrog. So that's basically what you're looking for in an esrog. For a clean esrog, you're looking for, it shouldn't have black spots, it could have white spots. I have one, I forgot to bring it, with a nice white spot on it. You can have white spots, those are possible. But the any other color, brown usually, is okay. And the blettlach on it are usually okay. Also, you just have to check to make sure it's not missing anything from the esrog. Any questions on this before we go to Lulav?
Missing anything on the esrog is all anywhere.
Yeah, machma, anything on the esrog. But again, that's the first day. Other days, also if it's chasser a little bit on it, if it's sometimes you have a real chasser, your esrog can go. You know, a day or two later you'll see it start to spoil because the juices come out. But,
so when we say on the first day, not this year, but if Sukkot comes out on Shabbos and Sunday,
then it's not negeya. So
then those Jews are
so the
easier.
second day Yom Tov is a machlekes hapoiskim chutzlar. It's the second day has a din of the first day, or has a din of the chalamat. So depending what the psul is, that's how we'll go. But generally speaking, it's.
So the etrogim that are shipped, are they all shipped kosher?
Now, who's looking to exactly? You know, they mass product.
So we're all going to go out now and look at etrog.
Right.
He picks up one, doesn't like it.
Right.
And I buy it.
Right. So that's what it is. In other words, the Chazon Ish says it's very hard to find one that's 100% possible. But it's also very hard to find one that's 100%, kosher l'chol days. So, you have a big discrepancy. So it depends where the person's holding. The esrog is like your heart. It depends where you're up to, where you're holding. The person has to be within his boundaries of exactly what his thing is. You don't have to make yourself mashuga to get the nicest esrog. But look, if there are nice ones there, put the effort in. You can choose the one that doesn't have the black dots. There's a small black dot's better, big one dots. You can look for those. That's the.
Why have you got 3 prizes? Everything's okay.
Depends how nice it is. But
That was a nice
yeah.
joke.
It depends how nice it is.
Yeah.
Does that also go for a lulav as well, in the sense that if it should be nice the first day, but if as days go on through Sukkot that you have, sometimes like the leaves, you may lose a few or
Yeah. So I want to just explain one thing. There's a technical halachic thing here. That the psul chosar, whatever's possible because it's chosar, is only possible the first day, the second day is akasha. Whatever's possible because it's not hadar, is a possible all day. Now we'll see when we get to lulav what that means. So in other words, a black splotch is possible all days, because that's a chasar in hadar. Something which is chosar, that's only possible the first days and not the other days. Or it says, Chanina matbul beivachol. Chanina took a bite out of his esrog after the first day, because it was still kosher. Chosar is kosher. They used his esrog with the bite in it. There's a whole gemara about that.
Was that a daf gap?
I don't know. So chosar is going to be kosher. Something which is hard is not kosher. This comes up by a lulav. We'll see in a moment. A lulav. I don't know how long I have here, but a lulav. How do people look for a lulav? They go over to the thing and they go. And see how good it shakes. That's the worst thing you want to do to your lulav because you might, mess up the leaves. You don't really have to shake it so hard on Sukkot. You just have to shake it a little bit. So the question is, what are you looking for when you get on the lulav? So again, we have two ways of looking at your lulav. You have the Hasidic Mahalach and the Litvish Mahalach. The Hasidic will look at should be a nice green, heavyweight lulav, and the Litvish are going to look at the point, straight to the point. Is that point closed? How does it look? Is it chipped? We'll go through the halachas briefly. So, first it's good to know that a lulav, if you want to have a nice, beautiful lulav, it's kosher, but you pick up the lulav. I'm just get a lulav here.
Take it.
I don't know if he wants to use his lulav.
Oh, sorry, that belongs to someone.
I'm going to take one that's not wrapped. There's one in the box there that's not wrapped.
Sorry, I didn't realize.
But it's interesting also by an esrog too. If you pick up the esrog and it's very heavy, I would stay away because that means there's a lot of water in it. There's a lot of water in it. Give it a few days. I once bought an esrog in Moroccan one. It was a huge esrog. A few days later, it started shriveling up. It was full of water. All fruits are full of water, but if it's really full of water, it loses its water and it shrivels up. You want an esrog that's going to stay fresh. The light ones are okay. There's nothing wrong if it's light. It's heavy. That means there's a lot of water in it. But anyway, so getting back to the lulav. So when you pick it up, the halacha is if it's bent, a lulav that's bent is possible. But bent means that it's bent forward. The lulav you got to look at. The lulav you have to look at. The spine is. This is the front of the lulav. This is the spine. This is the shedra. The shedra goes from the bottom till where all the leaves stop splitting off from it, which in this case is that over here. Now it's important to know that where your lulav goes till, because these are big lulavim, but if you have a small one, you need a lulav that's 4 tvachim, let's say 16 inches, whatever it is. You need a lulav, but you count the lulav from the shedra. When you put your hadassim in and you put your aravas in, there should be a tefach lower. There should be good 3 inches, 3.5 inches lower than the shedra, not lower than the tip of the lulav. It should be lower than where the spine ends. Sometimes the spine ends up here, sometimes it ends up here. You got to look at where the spine ends. But you put it that it's lower than the shedra. That's your lulav. These are just the leaves coming out. Like you have a hadas, you have a stem and you have leaves. These are leaves coming out. But the shedra is still here. Now if you have a lulav like this and it's bent forward, that's kaf of ka'agmain, it's possible. It's very uncommon. What's common is you have a kneppel on the top. I'm sorry, not forward. If it's bent backwards. I'm sorry. If it's bent backwards, it would be possible. And that could happen only on the tip. Sometimes you get kneppels, which we'll talk about in a minute. But if the lulav itself is bent that way, it's possible. But most of the time it's bent the other way. Like this is a pretty straight lulav. If you take the lulav, look like this, you see it bends. It's pretty straight, actually. But sometimes the lulav bends slightly down, which is fine. If it would go this way and bend that way, that would be unnatural. It would be possible. But if it bends this way, that's natural. The lulav will grow like that. The spine goes like that. Many of them are bent a little bit. It's kosher. But the straighter it is, the more mehuder it is. So people will take the lulav. If you ever see them going like this, now you know why. They're seeing how straight it is. But again, that's not makav. It's kosher anyways. But it makes it mehuder. So if it has a nice amount of leaves on it, it's fat, it's green, it's fresh, that's a nice Hasidic lulav. But you got to make sure that the middle, now this lulav here, every leaf is doubled into 2. We all know. Every leaf is, this is a perfect one. Okay, so every leaf is doubled into 2. You could come look later. It has to be, this is common in a lulav. If the second leaf doesn't double it over fully, it's folded over. So, like this one, it's not folded over fully. It's only folded over until about here. Then the rest is, I don't know if you could see. You can probably see where the light goes through. It's only folded over partially. It's not fully folded over. So it's kosher as long as roiv, as long as it's mostly covered over. It does happen quite often that it's covered over only a little bit. It's folded over only a little bit. Not halfway. That's possible. No good. Lulav's no good. It's out. So the middle leaf has to be folded over fully. and it should be closed, but it doesn't have to be closed. Halacha l'maisa, even if it's open, it's kosher. You should l'chatchila get one that's not open, a tefach, that's split, a tefach down. Mishmur says it should split roiv, which could be a problem. But if it's split, it's kosher. If you really know what the briskets are looking for, perfectly closed to the tippy top. But it's kosher if it's split open. What you have to be worried about is what you have here a little bit. If you see, I don't know if you can see good, this is the middle leaf. That comes like to a V on the top. See? Not a real V, but it comes like to a little V. If I could open up a little more, you could see a V like that. Sometimes they split open like a real V. That's called nira kehemnik. It looks like a hemnik, and that's not very much recommended in halacha. It's very unclear how much, because they always open up a little bit. How much? And Mishnah says you have to be very careful about this. But la halacha, if it's a little bit, it's kosher. So there's always the debate, how much open. But if it's very much open, mamash open like this, it's split off, then stay away from it. That's nira kehemnik. So chatchila, the best lulav is if it's perfectly close to the top. If it's split open, it's kosher until a tefach. More than a tefach, it's still kosher, but we don't try not to take it. Try to take one that's on the first day. On the first day. On the second day, if it's split open, it has a din of chosar. Chosar, we said, is kosher on the second day. So it's only relevant for the first day of Yom Tov. So the second day of Yom Tov, it's kosher. If it's split open, it has a din of chosar. Now this is interesting. If it's split, it has a din of chosar. It's kosher the second day. It's not good the first day. But if it's chipped on top, split on, it's missing. It got cut off on top, which happens. I was looking at a lulav yesterday, 2 days ago, and it was hanging down the tip. Very kind of. Sometimes they come to a nice sharp point here, and it must have got knocked, and it was hanging down. It was off. So I tried to figure out what was going on. I put my finger on it. The whole thing came off. Now I could very easily just put it down in the box. And the next day I picked it up to look at it. It looks like a beautifully closed esrog, a lulav, I mean, because it's a little piece sticking up. You can't tell that it was chipped off. I mean, if you have a loop, you could put the loop there, maybe you could tell. But it's very hard to tell. Any other guy could buy it, and I'm sure in many stores they do that. Okay, take it back and around. But that's called mikdam. And mikdam is puzzle. If it's cut, it's puzzle. So if it's mikdam, that's puzzle, not als chasar, that's puzzle als hodder. According to Rabbi Kiva and Magen Avraham. So that's puzzle for all the days. So if it's split, it's only the first day. Everybody looks to see if it's split. That's only the first day, and it could be split till tefach. If it's niktam, it's puzzle. But if it's niktam, which you really can't tell, since if it's something that's chaser, even if I can't see unless I look very close, it's missing. So it's puzzle on the esrog even on the first day. But if something which is puzzle because it's not beautiful, if you can't tell it's niktam, it's such a small amount that was cut off on the top that you can't tell it's niktam, Rabbi Kiva holds it's kosher. Because it's mashu, has to be that you can notice it. You notice it. If it's so little niktam that you can't notice it, that's kosher.
What is split? Which?
Every leaf is doubled over.
Okay.
So like this leaf here is doubled over, but on the top it's split. I don't want to open it up more, but it's not really doubled over. It's not really a good lulav.
You said it was possible already.
Yeah, this is puzzle because that one's
That's why
puzzle.
you ate it.
Yeah, okay, so I'll puzzle it for sure then, because if you open this up, if you open up the leaf, you see here, every leaf is doubled, see, and it folds over. So the back part, there's some corruption that's actually called a tiyumas, the back part. So the snit of that comes out. So if it's split, here, if we split it more to a tefach, don't take it. Now when it's folded over, that's what I was saying before, it's folded over, it doesn't really cover it. If it would only cover like this amount, it's also possible because it doesn't cover right of the thing. So if you split it and cover it, that's what it is. So the middle leaf, now it could happen to other leaves also, but the basic one, the middle one's okay, you're okay usually. The middle one's no good. The other ones have to be rive, so basically you're okay. So the question is only the middle one. I know it's getting late, so I'm just going to end. So sometimes you have a kneppel. A kneppel means it's bended over. The Rosh says, Oyavani, he loves this, because since it's bent over, it's not going to open up. It's like secured shut. So many people will try to get one with a kneppel. A lot of the literature won't get one with a kneppel because sometimes with the kneppel has a question again, if it's bent forward, is that a psul? It's bent forward. So most Rishonim hold only the spine that bent forward is possible, but the tip bent forward is okay. That's what Rosh holds. So some hold that it's not good, and that's the debate with the kreppel. There's one other thing that's very common in a lulav. It's koira. It's the brown stuff that go over the top. Now some say, okay, it's closed. It has the brown stuff. It's not opening. It's closed. That's your real kosher lulav. You're safe. You pick up such a lulav, you're kosher, and they have what to be seimach on. There are places that hold like that. That it's closed with the koira, you're okay. You don't have to worry about it. What?
It secures it.
It secures it and it closes it. Others will tell you, no, well, if you take off the koira, you'll see that many times the koira goes in between the two leaves. It's actually a very split lulav, just filled with that brown stuff. And they'll say, stay away from it unless you take it off. So again, there's what to be seimach on. There's cheetahs that hold this kosher. You can take one with closed. You don't have a problem. If that's your minhag, you're okay. But if the others will say, no. And when we go to the store, you'll find, all the yeshiva guys are taking the lulav and trying to peel it off. And the moicher by saying, don't touch it. You're passing my lulav. It was kosher before you took it off. Once you take it off, they're going to make it a pasul lulav. And he's right. They have no right to take it off without permission from the guy that's selling the lulav. Basically, we'll leave it with that. So any questions on the lulav?
Not specifically on lulav and etrog, but on the procedure on Yontiv or on Chol Hamoed about during Hoshanas about lending it out, or on Yontiv about lending it out. People have to take possession. Are you allowed to get possession?
The first day you have to own it. It has to be lachem. The second day also, because it has to do sleik the yom. So the first 2 days it has to be yours. The other days it doesn't. So if you're giving it to your friend to use the lulav, it's understood that you're giving it to him that he could be yoytz his mitzvah, he could do his mitzvah, so you're giving it to him so he's kind when he takes it.
But don't you have to say to him...
So some people say, when we went to Abdullah, everybody used to use his lulav and esrog, so he used to say, hold tonight kafel, he say, pick up the lulav and have it, and you can make it tonight that I'm letting you use it and you're being kind on condition that you give it back afterwards. And if you don't give it back afterwards, then it came out you were never kind to begin with and you weren't to your mitzvah. It makes security, he got his lulav and esrog back. He was afraid you'd walk off with it, But usually, your friend is not going to run away with it. You give it to him, give it back afterwards.
So you don't have to have any intent at all. You can
you should give it to him, tell him to be kind, and then he should give it back to you. What?
You can't do that with.
A child is a problem. That's why you could buy chinuch said a child is a problem. But again, I don't believe in the old days. I guess it's to observe upon. If in the old days everybody bought lulav and masregim for the children, I mean it's expensive. My kids are 8 years old. I want to buy a chinuch and I don't want to spend $60 on him. So what do? So most people just won't be marking it to the child. We'll just let the child shake. She gets a shayla if he's yoytze to chinuch, but the samech on that, they'll let him shake it without being kainet. Because if he's kainet, there's a question whether you can get it back, the child.
Can you make an amen to his bracha?
Yeah, because it can be samech on the shittas that chinuch could work even if he's not kainet. It's machlokes. Shibur doesn't like it so much, but that's what we're samech on, if you're not going to buy him a set.
And why should shake?
What?
Why should take lulav? Bench lulav?
Yeah, they're not mechuyev to it. It's a mitzvah sheishes man grama, but they get a mitzvah. But they also have to give it back. Yeah.
Just quickly on like a Rabbis and Hadassim.
Yeah.
If we're looking for that, how do we know it's replacing during Sukkot?
Yeah, so Aravis are pretty simple. Aravis are just, as long as most of the leaves are on, you're okay. You do have to be careful that the Aravis, sometimes they get dried up, they start hanging down. And it's not preferable. If it gets to that point that they're hanging down, you just switch your Aravis. Anyways, it's nice if you have fresh Aravis. But otherwise, if the leaves are on, most of the leaves are on, it's kosher. Sometimes you put them in the thing, the leaves rip off, you got to be careful. But as long as most leaves are on, you're okay. Hadassim is more of an issue. Hadassim has to be meshulish, has to be 3 coming out of the same place. That's why you'll see the closed package that says Roiv Chazanir. The question is, how much down has to be meshulish? And some 16 centimeters, the chatchila should be, if it's less than that, it's also okay maybe. But there has to be 3 coming out of the same. A trick is, if you look lower down, they usually spread out as you get lower down in the hadas. They start spreading out the leaves. So if they're close together on the bottom, you get a closed pack. You can't see it. But if you see they're close together on the bottom, chances are they're good on the top. So if you get 3 of them, that the leaves are coming out of the same space. If more than 2 out of the 3 leaves fall out, then you have to have most of the leaves on. You can ask a shiloh when you have enough leaves falling out what to do. But,
practical question, Robert. What's the best way to keep it fresh?
the
to
lulav?
Yeah, lulav.
Just
yeah.
leave it out. The hadassim and the harava, some people take the whole thing off. They leave it in here and take this whole thing off and put it in the fridge. And then the next day they put it back on. That's what some people do, because in the fridge it stays the best. Other people, what I do is I put a wet cloth on the bottom. But if you put it over the leaves, it's going to start
brownish.
Farfallen,
That's
brownish,
yeah.
But if you put it on the bottom, you're okay. Or you just take this off, stick it in the fridge, and take it out of the fridge and put it back on. This has the little hadassah. This is going to stay. This is not going anywhere.
There's no shiloh about assembling it like on Yom Tov or something like that? Or?
You're just sticking it in. You're not tying it. If you have to tie it, it's a problem. But if you're just sticking it on, that's what people do. I don't know. Yeah. That's the problem with tying it. Sticking it on. Yeah. Okay, if you be zeicher to have a Chag Kosher v'Sameach, and everybody's welcome to make a selection.